the best a man can get.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to First Things First. It is a fine Monday morning, April 1st here in New York City. I'm Jenna Wolf. That's the Hall of Famer Chris Carter. This is Nick Wright. Good to have everyone back. We will get to the official end of LeBron's first season in L.A. because it is over.
You guys got, like, different hairstyle?
Well,
I know you got something.
Mine got shorter, and his is getting longer.
Okay, I like it. A little cut, right?
Cut, a little something,
a little trim. Okay,
yeah,
I like it.
true.
Jenna's hair looks lovely.
Thanks. So, as does yours.
Let's not talk about my hair.
3 days off, and look how long it is.
Start the day lying.
Yeah.
No, it actually looks great.
Okay, thanks.
Your hair looks
Appreciate
great.
that. What are we doing on the show
Need
today?
some product, man. You need that thing like LeBron has, like cover.
What are we doing on the television show today, America?
Besides LeBron, we'll talk about the New York Giants. They remain committed to Eli Manning. Wait till you hear for how long, but we're going to start with the Did You Watch game of the night.
Hey, give me some product.
The phenom freshman Zion at Duke taking on Michigan State. Jump to the end, 35 seconds left. Kenny Goins drilling that to put Michigan State up 2. 10 seconds to go. R.J. Barrett fouled. Duke still down 2. Barrett misses the first free throw, should have made. Made the second free throw, should have missed. Spartans looking now to just run out the clock, and they do it. The #1 overall seed, Duke, is out of the tournament. Tom Izzo and Michigan State heading to its 10th Final Four. Here is the head coach after the win.
When you're Duke, and everybody that beats Duke is, ready to put that on the wall, and because that's the program he's built, and that's one I'm hoping to still build. I mean, the respect everybody has for Duke is why it's a big game. But I do think we beat arguably the best team in the country.
A lot's obviously going through our mind right now. We're very upset, obviously, because, we wanted to go to the Final Four. But congrats to Michigan State. They deserve it. They played a hell of a game. And, just look around the locker room and see, like, your teammates and your brothers, and you just think, this group probably never will play together again.
CC, after we watched their last win against UCF, we thought, oh my gosh, that got so close. But you always sort of knew Duke was going to win. I had the same feeling watching this game. It was close, but you always sort of knew Duke was going to win. How surprised were you that they couldn't pull it off, that Michigan State actually won this game?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the 2 previous games because they just barely got past. UCF barely got past Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech has it at the rim for an opportunity there, didn't convert. And in this game, it was back and forth. If you're playing Michigan State, especially at this time of the year, especially a chance to go to the Final Four, that's when they play their best basketball. So I'm not going to say I was surprised that Michigan State won. I talked to Coach Izzo on Saturday night. He was very confident in this team. He said, now, Chris, when we take the court, they got a lot more talent than we do. But I believe that the chemistry and the overall toughness that we have, that's the special ingredient that this team has compared to what Duke has. He thought it would be, they would have to play a certain way. He knew they'd have to limit them as far as fast break points. He couldn't let them get out and make it like an NBA game up and down the court. And as you can see, they did that. 0 fast break points. And if you can do that to Zion and do that to Duke, then, man, you're going to have a heck of a chance at winning. So I'm going to say I wasn't shocked. Michigan State, I've been watching Coach Izzo. He's a good friend of mine. I watch how they play basketball. In big games like this is why you watch March Madness, is to be able to see matchups like this.
And for this weekend as a whole, this was the closest by score Elite Eight we've ever had. And you could argue after an underwhelming first weekend of the tournament, one of the benefits of not having a bunch of upsets in the first weekend, which generates the excitement, is you get the best teams possible in the second weekend of the tournament. All 4 games were outstanding. Listen, Duke was my pick to win it all. I said I'd take Duke over the field, so obviously I'm surprised they lost from where we were at the beginning of the tournament. But once you saw them only play 1 good first half in the first game against North Dakota State, they had a tip-in to lose to UCF, and then as C mentioned, a tip, or not even a tip-in, a shot at the rim for overtime against Virginia Tech. Duke didn't have one dominant great game this whole tournament. There wasn't one game all tournament where it's like, oh, they, the best version of themselves showed up. And there was one piece of controversy when the committee released the bracket. There was a soft bubble, so it wasn't about a team getting left out. It was, man, Michigan State kind of got screwed here. They're arguably the best 2 seed, and they get seeded with the best 1 seed. Well, the flip side to that is Duke got the best 2 seed, a team that has now won 14 of 15 games in its region just to get to the Final Four. And Cassius Winston played a game as well as a college point guard can play, something Mateen Cleaves never did in his championship tournament run, a 20-point, 10-assist game for Michigan State. And what you saw was the veteran team that was playing more team basketball as opposed to your turn, my turn, they got it done. Now, it came down to the very last second, but RJ Barrett and Zion, for as great as they were individually all year long, they never quite figured out, and some of this on Coach K, the devastating 2-man game they could have had. It was more a LeBron and D. Wade first year in Miami. It's your turn, then it's my turn, as opposed to using the fact that Duke had the best 2 players on the court every time those 2 guys were out there to impose their will on their opposition. And Zion has been the case in a lot of the Duke losses this year, all of the Duke losses that he's played in. In the last minute of these games, RJ takes the shots, Zion does not, and this time it bit Duke.
And now we won't see those 2 play together because I'm sure this is going to be the last we'll see of them at Duke, at least definitely Zion. All right, did we overestimate how good Duke really was, CC, or did we underestimate how good a team like Michigan State could play them?
Well, we knew teams would give them a battle. As the tournament went on, teams progressively, especially the best, they get better and better. But Nick mentioned, in their previous games, they only played a stellar half in that first half of round number 1.
Second half of round 1.
Second half in the round number 1. So they haven't progressively gotten better. As the stakes have gone up, they haven't done that. Now, they did have an injury where they did miss some overall continuity. But for me, it was the thing was surprising with me. In all these big games, these 3 games they played late, offensively, just they weren't effective at the end of the game. Like Coach K, even with dead ball, timeouts, and things like that, he's not great.
Compare that to what Coach Izzo did in the 2. He called timeouts,
right,
and got the alley-oop play, and then timeout and got the open 3. Both of those plays he drew up.
And afterwards, the players talked about, what were you going to do? And said, well, we're going to do something else. But the play we ran was a different option because they didn't give us what we were looking for. So with Duke at the end, you see him inbound the pass, and then RJ, he does get to the line. But was that the play? Just for him to dribble, drive, and everything? Like, you would think with Coach K, with his reputation, everything, with these games being as close as they were, at the end, I was expecting for him to be able to come up with some type of magic, and I didn't see that.
And that was something, if we're being honest, that what we didn't see from Duke all year was RJ and Zion getting the 2 guys on one side of the court, other 3 guys on the other side, where they could take advantage of those matchups. Now, some of that was because you didn't really have to respect those other guys because of the lack of shooting. We talked about how Duke would have been the worst shooting team to ever win a championship. But we shouldn't minimize what a disappointment this is for Coach K and for Duke. He's 72 years old. The one-and-done era is coming to a close in 2 or 3 years. This was the most talented team he's had in the last 20 years. And it's one thing to not win the championship. It's another thing to not get to the Final Four, to where you could have lost round 2, you could have lost round 3, and you did lose round 4 when you have the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd ranked recruits in the country. We're going to have an NBA draft here in a couple months. 3 of the first 6 names called will be Duke players. I guarantee you that. And to not make it to the Final Four is a major disappointment. And I don't know how much longer Coach K is going to coach when you're 72 years old and when you're about to have to, they have embraced one and done like Kentucky has, and you're going to have to change that here in a few years when the rules change. So this is a major missed opportunity and an enormous disappointment for Duke. And that doesn't take anything away from Michigan State,
of course,
which was a great team.
No, but when you're the team projected by just about everyone as the #1 seed with the #1 player to go over all the way, then yes, it is definitely a disappointment. Time now for Put a Grade on It, sponsored by CarMax. All right, so Zion had another great game last night. He scored 24, grabbed 14 boards. Nick, put a grade on Zion's tournament.
I mean, I have to give him a B because he didn't complete the class, so to speak. Like, he needed to play in at least 5, probably 6 tournament games, and that would have meant Duke achieved its goals. He was individually outstanding, but the team didn't play